walking by, I'm mesmerized by these lines. I'm so high, they walking by, I'm mesmerized by these lines. I'm so high, they walking by, I'm mesmerized by these lines. I'm so high, they walking by, I'm mesmerized by these lines. I'm so high, they walking by, I'm mesmerized. By these lines, I'm so high, they
This 4-day conference takes place from Sunday morning, the 27th of March, to Wednesday, the 30th, with over 12 dynamic speakers, including Dr. Basil Klein, Bishop Judah Bismarck, Dr. Alan Busak, Apostle Josie van Rensburg, Pastor Xavier, Hendricks, and many more, hosted by myself and my lovely wife, Pastor Joan Hendricks. We also have an astounding lineup of world-class speakers for the weekly day morning master classes. Although the 5 services are free, registration is essential at theafricanskiesconference.co.za.
On-site facilities include a child care center, disability-friendly facilities, free secured parking, a cafe, and the Crystal Church 50-year museum.
Invite your friends and family. We are ready to serve you.
The Under African Skies Conference 2022, believe it or not.
Well, good morning, Legacy Men. What an amazing time to be alive. What an amazing time to be serving God. What an amazing time to be a man living a real life, serving a real God. Welcome to you all. Well, our conference is coming up, and that's the first thing I wanted you to see this morning, because it's something that has really got the greater congregation and the wider community that Crystal Church serves very excited, because it's time for Under African Skies. And guys, I want to encourage you, yes, do that again. Come on. I want to encourage you to get involved. So before I even get into the formalities of today, I want to encourage you. This is my challenge to you as men. I would like to challenge you to be the first to put your hand up. I'd like to challenge you to be the first to stand up and say, I will serve my community, I will serve my church. We need volunteers. We need people who are willing to go into the car park, who are willing to be to stand out and say, I will be security, you know. We are really looking for people to assist us in every area to make this event super successful. So I want to encourage you, chat to the team, and I'm going to show you the team in a minute afterwards, or chat to the ladies at the iHub tomorrow morning. But be the first to say, I will, and I will make a difference, and I will stand, not just for my community, but I will stand for Christ. You know, one of the greatest things I've learned with my daughter's schooling career is you'll always find me in the street, in the car park, directing traffic, because it's one of the greatest places where you can actually serve. So don't think that because you are a C-suite executive that the car park is below you. I've learned in life that if serving is below you, leadership is beyond you. Let that sink in. So with that being said, I want to say thank you to Dr. Carl and Pastor Joan for this opportunity, for us to have a platform such as this to address the needs of men, and to be there as a platform for empowerment for the men in our community. So Doc and Pastor Joan, thank you very much. I want to acknowledge our pastors that are here this morning. Pastor Regan, Pastor Xavier, Father Ali, thank you so much for being here. Your presence is really welcomed and valued. Guys, I got a lot of announcements, but they're really important for us as men. The Reach Foundation has a drive that is ongoing at the moment, where we're trying to raise 1,000 pairs of school shoes. There's communities in need. There are children that are going to school with broken shoes, going to school barefoot, and you and I are the ones that can make a difference. So if you haven't given as yet, I'd like to challenge you to give. I'd like to challenge you to give wholeheartedly. We're coming up again to month end. February is a short month. I'm so glad about that. It's a whole week shorter than every other month, and it's a whole 11 months shorter than January. So, so I'm definitely going to add to my donation, and I want to challenge you to do the same. Reach Foundation, there's a couple of pairs of shoes there just to show you what's happening. But there's a number of men that's in our midst this morning who were actually here before I even arrived this morning. And you know what they were doing? They were packing shoes that are being distributed to communities in need. So get involved, guys. This is the time, this is the place, this is your opportunity. Then, my last announcement before I introduce our first speakers is a little bit of an interactive announcement. So I would like to ask, if you have a child, can you please stand up? whether it's a girl or a boy. If you have a child, can you stand up? Awesome. Now, if you have a father, can you stand up? Have. Okay. If you have a niece or a nephew, can you please stand up? If you have an uncle, can you please stand up? Great. That is everyone in this auditorium standing up. Legacy is for you. And our next event coming up in April is an event targeting generational legacy. So that means every single one of you need to be here, but it comes with a catch. You need to bring your child, whether that child is a boy or a girl, whether you've got 5 children like me, or you've got a nephew or a niece. I would love to challenge you. The next legacy event is a generational event. So we would love you. We've switched the masterclass up a bit. So we want to do practical legacy. We want to do practical legacy between generations. So if you stood up because you have an uncle, bring your uncle with you. You've got a month. This one is happening the week after Easter. Everyone is still in a holiday mood. Everyone is still happy and vibing. And I want to encourage you, that Saturday after Easter Sunday, this is where it's going to be. This is where you're going to have the most amazing, generational, practical legacy experience. So once again, you can take a seat. And now I want to show you the team who's made this event possible. So I would like every member of the legacy leadership team to please stand up. Because when people have questions later and they want to start volunteering, they're going to come and see you. So guys in the team, please stand. Don't be shy, Mr. Machaka. Mr. Bonginkosi. Great. So guys, this is the team that you need to speak to when you are ready to volunteer. This is the team who's responsible for putting on amazing events and opportunities for us to engage. So with that being said, you may take your seats. I would like to just open this morning with a word of prayer. Lord, we thank you for an opportunity to come before you, Lord. Your word has said where 2 or 3 are gathered in your name, you are there in their midst. Father, there's more than 2 or 3, so we know that you're here. We know that you're present. Because, Lord, your word has also said that you would never leave us and you would never forsake us. So today, as we continue in this first masterclass of 2022, setting the platform for success for this year, I pray, Father, that your Holy Spirit will be hovering low and challenging hearts and challenging minds. I pray, Lord, that the words that our speakers have prepared will pierce through to the hearts of the men in this place, as well as to the hearts of the men who are watching us by live stream. I just thank you for opportunities like this. I thank you for that we can serve you and that we can really come to know you as a real God who loves real men living real lives. So, Father, this morning is all for your glory. And we praise you, honor you, and give you the glory. In Jesus' name, amen. With that being said, guys, won't you please help me welcome our first speakers for this morning. We've got Xavier Francis, no stranger to you at Crystal Church, and his business partner, Terrell Moodley. And they are going to start this morning chatting to us about first things first. We're talking finances. Guys, let's welcome our first speakers.
Hi, everybody. If you know me on a personal level, you know that I've never done something like this. So it's honestly my first time. But I just want to say thank you guys so much for actually coming out and spending the morning with us. We hope that the information we're going to give you is actually of value. And yeah, we just hope you enjoy it. To everyone watching on the live stream platforms, thank you for joining in as well. Hi, baby. She's going to shout me if I don't say hi to her. So hi, baby. So yeah, firstly, my name is Xavier Francis, and my business partner is Terrell Moodley. We just wanted to have a chat to you guys about finances. Klitz, if you're ready for me, you can put up the first slide. Oh, okay. Go one back for me. Okay. So we'd just like to start off by what would this picture represent to you? What, just randomly, someone just pick up their hand. Is there anything that this picture sort of means? I don't know if I'm in the way. Okay. Anybody just want to pick up their hand quickly? Just to, quick question, what would this mean to you? A lot of people, okay. Anyone else? 6? Okay. Okay. It's supposed to be yellow, but okay, cool. So I just wanted to put up this as the first picture, but we're going to get back to it now. Next one for me. So in South Africa, unfortunately, only 8 to 12% of South Africans will leave a legacy for the next generation. Perfectly displayed by the picture over here. Parents, grandparents would have planted something for you. The kids and us as the younger people, our kids would reap the benefits, would actually enjoy the shade from the trees that our parents have planted. Again, I'd like to make the statement, 8 to 12% of South Africans will leave a legacy for the next generation. Next one. Are you one of them? I hope it actually, it's something that is actually touching you, something getting you thinking. Next one for me. So, Uncle Llewellyn put it very nicely. All the dads, can I just ask that you just raise your hand again for me quickly? Husbands, raise your hands for me as well. Okay, what happens if you die? What happens to your wife and what happens to your kids? So the statement is, when you die, there will be 3 deaths. A husband, a father, and an income. The first 2 are irreplaceable. We can never hope to replace you. What we can, however, do is help replace the financial burden that is no longer there as soon as you are then no longer there as well. Am I making sense? Making sense, okay. I'm very nervous, guys. Don't judge me. Unfortunately, in the South Africa that we're living in at the moment, we're only growing at 1.75% to 2% over the medium-term goal. Let's be realistic. As much as we'd like to say that South Africa is growing in terms of the economy, we're not getting there. We're not getting to what we wanted to as an entire country. Okay, so we're back at that original picture that we spoke about. Something I'd like to share with you that myself and Mr. Moodley have found out through working in this industry is, so there's supposed to be a picture of go on back, sorry. So it's supposed to be a picture of 100 men. So if I just ask everyone just to look around, let's just say we are 100 men in the room, only 6% of us can retire comfortably. Not saying that the other 94% cannot retire, all we're saying is that 6% of us can retire and retire comfortably. So our aim is here in this moment, and being financial advisors and wealth planners, we'd like to ensure that we get that 6% higher. Our aim would obviously be to get 100% of everybody to retire comfortably, but we know in the situations that we're living in, it's not possible. So our aim is to get that 6% or that 6% of South Africans up a little bit higher. Going to the next one? Yeah. So unfortunately, living in South Africa, we do have some scary health facts. Just got an exercise for everybody. Can everybody look to the left for me? Which would be, okay, my right, sorry. Okay, count 10 people for me. Okay, and look to my left, your right. Count 10 people for me again. Okay, so we've counted out 10 people. 1 in those 10 people would have a stroke. 1 in 5 of those same 10 people that you've counted could pass away from heart attack, cardiovascular disease. In that same 10 people, 1 in 5 of those people would pass away from cancer or cancer-related disease. So what we've identified as working for EQ, Fun, and Liberty is that there are 5 problems in life: living too long, inflation and tax, dying too soon, being hospitalized, and disability and rare disease. Just by a quick show of hands, has anybody ever thought of these problems in life? Most common one, I think, would be inflation and tax. As we know, petrol price is apparently going up by another 1 rand something, going on to 21 rand. Yeah, no. So working from home, I think, is going to be more efficient as well. So what we'd basically do is something called a financial needs analysis to ensure that we mitigate against those 5 problems in life. So we'd start off by collecting your financial information, whatever it might be, your work, pension, provident fund, if you've got medical aid, what exactly does all of that sort of cover? And then once we've identified what your specific 5 problems in life is, we then set the financial goals. So we'd look at if you want to retire comfortably, we look at if that's your goal, what steps can we take to get there? We prioritize it as well. So if your first goal is actually looking after your family, we ensure that we prioritize that. And then we take different steps in actually implementing what we're doing. And then at the end of the day, we're promising you that we will help review your action plan. Be it every 6 months, be it every year. We make sure that we contact you and just ensure that everything is still fine. We never know. Every year you might be, we'll use Uncle Llewellyn as an example. He's got 5 kids. Imagine his advisor a couple of years ago. If this year he has 1 kid, the next year another one, and another one, another one. We need to ensure that our overall plan is covered. And then something cool we just thought we'd add on: don't get caught without having some form of cover. Personally, me, if you know me, I enjoy sitting in the toilet. My wife's going to shout me for saying that. That has happened to me once before. So I'd like to ensure that in a financial status, this never happens to you and your family. I heard someone say only once, so we need to make sure that you are covered. And something else is, your wife might never believe in life cover, but a widow does. Powerful stuff. Can I ask, before we go on, can everybody please take out their phones? I've got a quick calculation that I want everyone to do. Where's my phone? Let me also do it. Everybody got their phones? Okay. By a show of hands, who thinks R1 million is a lot? No one. Okay, cool. If I had to walk up to you today and say, here's R1 million, that would be a lot, right? Okay. So let's do this calculation. We take R1 million, divide that by 12, because there's 12 months in a year. You're going to get a very long 8 something 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 number. Exactly. Now, take that 83,000, divide it by 10 years. You're going to get 8,300 and some change. Imagine if you are earning a 20,000 rand salary, you pass away and you're leaving your wife 8,333 rand a month. Do you think that that's enough for her and the kids? Nowhere near enough. So that's what we do. We're here to ensure that that 8,300 will be as close to the 20,000 rand as possible. Imagine your businessman that earns 60, 70,000 rand a month. Do you really think 8,000 rand is enough? Not at all. Next slide for me. So being with Liberty, we'd like to prove to you guys that we actually do pay out our claims. Over the year of 2020, we've paid out 12.4 billion rands worth of claims. 6.3 billion rand was actually personal claims, so that would be me and you actually going for a claim. The other amounts would be for your funeral benefits, credit assurance, all those type of things, as well as business covers. So we ensure that the businessmen are also taken care of. 69% of us in the room were actually the guys that has claimed. So out of the entire claims process, we've calculated that 69% of men were the ones that actually claimed. 31% were women. It's public knowledge. If you guys go into the Liberty platform, you'd find it over there. When we touch base on COVID as well, COVID is still a relevant factor, even though it is somewhat dying. But this is just proof enough to show that in 2020, we've paid over 535 million rand based on COVID and COVID-related claims. So this is just me saying that us as a company, we'd pay. Plain and simple. If you've got something with us, we'd pay you out. Next slide for me. And then when we touch base on dreaded disease, like we mentioned earlier on, 1 in 5 could die from cancer, 1 in 5 could die from a heart attack. We show that our dreaded disease covers a multitude of stuff, not just necessarily those health factors, but how many of us know people that were constantly at the gym? You always hear these guys that were always at the gym, always eating right or whatever, pass away from a heart attack. So we like to ensure that if that has to happen to you, your family's taken care of. And then we don't only focus on what we like to call the doom and gloom, which is the risk cover. We focus on investments as well. So we also here to make sure that your wealth is there to leave a legacy for your kids and for the generations to come. So we've got 3 different forms of investing, which would be pre-investment. So that would be pre-retirement. So that would be when we are now in the current workforce, ensuring that the money we put aside is actually enough. Then we've got post-retirement, which would be the purple one, which is once you've comfortably retired, or once you've retired comfortably, the money that you've put aside is enough for you. And then the other one would be discretionary investing. So that would be saving for a wedding, saving for an overseas trip. Depending on whatever the goal is, we'd like to ensure that we've got you covered. Be it also saving for educational costs. We know the cost of education now is it's high. And I mean, a couple of years down the line, it's probably going to be higher. When I was in school, my school fees were 24,000 rand. My nephew is going to exactly the same school. He's in grade 3, and what he's paying now is what I paid when I was in high school. Not to mention my varsity fees, that's probably going to be his high school fees. So what we do when we look at investing as well, we look at what potential effects the actual interest rates would give. Next one for me. And then again, when we touch base on retirement, the earlier you can start, the better it is for you. The earlier you put money away, the better it is as well. I've got another calculation. Let's go to the next one for me. So let's just look at a simple scenario, nothing too fancy. You would like to save 1,000 rand a month, be it for whatever the goal would be. Scenario 1 is someone that's investing for 30 years and starts today. Scenario 2 would be someone also wanting to invest for 30 years, but starts 10 years later. What's the next one for me? It's a massive difference. Look, let me put it to you like this. In a 10-year difference from year 1 to year 30 versus year 1 to year 20, almost 900,000 rand. Why would you want to shoot yourself in the foot? And in looking at a 10-year period, who wouldn't want almost 900,000 rand extra? I would. I'd love that. I'd love 200,000 rand extra. But that's the point of starting to investing now. That's the point of compound interest. If you start today, it'll benefit you in the long run. So next one for me. So what we'd like to offer everybody in this room, I'm not sure if you guys saw when you walked in, at the Liberty banner, we've put down some pieces of paper that we'd like to grab everyone's information on. So what we'd be doing is we'd be doing free wills for everybody. Whether you've got a will or not, we'd like to ensure that from our side, as an offering to you guys as the Legacy Men, we'd like to ensure that we are able to cover your family in the event you're no longer there, your last wishes are still respected. As we know, you get certain places where they charge you a monthly fee to maintain your will. They charge you an annual fee to review it. We here saying, we'll do your wills for free. Just trust us with that information. Let us show you the work that we can do for you for free, and we hope it lasts. Question to you guys is, are you covered? And if you guys think that we're talking a whole lot of nonsense, it's biblical as well. Proverbs 13:22 says, A good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children. Let's all be good people. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Xavier. So let me just ask you a quick question before you leave the stage. And I want to just, on behalf of the men here, I want to say thank you for the generous offer with the will. So should the men decide they want to take you up on that, what do they actually need to do?
So literally all we need is name, surname, cell phone number, email address. We'll then contact you guys within the course of the week, and then we'll set up a one-on-one appointment, and let's get your will up to date, and we basically take things from there.
Okay. Now, for the skeptics in the audience, is there a hidden fee?
No fee.
Is it really free?
It's 100% free.
Guys-
Us drafting your will, we're not going to come 5-10 years down the line. There's video evidence here. So you guys will probably know me. You know my sister. You guys know my dad as well. In life, we don't really get anything for free. But here, we're taking the time and we're saying, we'll draft your guys' will for free. We'll maintain it for free. As long as you're prepared to work this journey with us, we'll walk it with you.
Thank you for that. It's something so important. Last year, I was saying to the guys outside, I am turning 44 this year. And I only did my will last year. You know why? Because I contracted this dreaded virus that everyone was so scared about. So I was hit with COVID last year. Thank God I had a network around me who built me up and built my faith and kept me focused on God and not on the virus. But at the same time that I contracted COVID, I had a very dear friend of mine contract COVID. I'm here today. He's not. When the reality of that hit home, the first thing I realized is, as men, we don't want to think that we could never die. We don't want to think that there's a chance of us not being here. But the chance is there. And if I want to be considered like that Proverbs man, a good person who leaves an inheritance for my children's children, I need to, put first things first, make sure I've got a will. Another thing I want to add, because this morning is we're talking about owning your day. Another thing I had to do when I realized that I wasn't taking care of my family properly when I got COVID, and it made me really think, is my ATM PIN number, my card number, access to my business bank accounts, access to my investments. I realized that should something happen to me and I don't make it out of the bed, my wife and kids will not be able to access money in my bank account. They won't know how to access my investments. They won't even know what investments I have. Because let's be honest, many of us do things without telling our wives. And this is on video, so yeah, sorry, babe. But the reality is I got a wake-up call. And this morning, we don't want to put fear in you. We just want to challenge you to think about putting first things first and making sure that we covered for any eventuality that life might have. So, Xavier and Terrell, thank you so much for this morning and for challenging us to think about the future and financial planning and putting first things first. I want to encourage you. The guys do have a table outside where they are available to chat to you afterwards. And an interesting thing, when I was growing up, we had we were branded with a certain thing. And I went to Google the other day when we were planning for this session, and I typed in this phrase. I typed in, all the church once is. Can you guess what Google came up with? but the actual answer Google said was, when I said, all the church once is, Google's first answer or first option they gave me is your money. So that's why we're flipping things on its head. As a ministry, as a men's ministry, focusing on owning the day, we want to help you not to take your money, but to show you how you can actually be more responsible with your money. So with that being said, once again, thank you very much. we're moving on to our next session. And while I've got my very good friend coming up to the stage, Mr. Mantikwe Machaka, I want to also invite you next week Tuesday evening. Now, we've got a very interesting free trading class happening here next week Tuesday with a guy that has a really cool name. He goes by the name of Pipsy Hustle. And he's going to be doing a session teaching you how to trade the NAS 100. For those who don't know what it is top 100 companies that you can trade on the US stock market. Okay. So you can hear, I don't know about it. I know about Forex. I know about commodities like gold. So this is something new and something exciting because I've seen people making a lot of money. So once again, we don't want to take your money here. We want to give you opportunities to see what's out there and what's available for you. So pencil that in your diary next week Tuesday, but make sure you chat to Terrell and Xavier on your way out. With that being said, guys, I want you to welcome Mantikwe Machaka. He is going to tell us, and he's going to share with us, and he's going to challenge us on how to actually make the most of our day and how to own the day. Because you know what? If you want a successful future, you can't start tomorrow. If you want a successful future, you got to take control of today. Mantikwe, over to you.
Thank you so much. Can you guys hear me? All right. Good morning, man. Morning. Everyone is hiding behind the masks. They're looking all serious. You know, it's okay. I'm the most friendliest person you will ever meet. I'm tiny, number one, so I can't intimidate you. Number two, you can see the way I dressed. I don't want to take your money. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding. But no, I think, thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. Llewellyn, I really appreciate it. Can we just take a moment to just thank Llewellyn for, and the team for organizing the Legacy Man. I had an opportunity to sit with Llewellyn, and I was struck to the core because the amount of wisdom that this man has, it really shocked me. I mean, we sat for about an hour and a half, and we were just catching up and sharing, and I was left flabbergasted. When I left there, I was like, yo, you can look at a person and not really know what they've been through. You know, the things that they've experienced and the amount of wealth, of wisdom that they have nurtured from those experiences. So I'm really grateful for that. Again, as well, I just want to thank, Dr. Carl Hendricks and Pastor Joan for this wonderful opportunity to be here, the board, the leadership team as well for trusting me to stand up and just to share with you something that I've got in my heart to share with you guys. So, I'm excited because what I want to touch on is basically, what Xavier took us through, and I'm going to jump onto it a bit, if you don't mind, sir. Thank you so much. These days we trademark everything, so I don't need to pay royalties. In the last slide, he was saying that he was talking about wills, and whenever we talk about a will, we're talking about change. We're talking about managing change. We're talking about thinking about the future because that's where you preempt change. And it's interesting because everything that we do in life, there's change. Change is the only constant thing that we have in life. I mean, if you want to take a real view of change, look at yourself now versus to when you were a child. You were cute then. You were cute, but now you're handsome. How about that? Let's just do it for the ladies because we don't see it. Now, the only constant that we have is change. And the interesting part about change is that if you are not in tune with what change means at a very personal level, you're going to miss out on the opportunities that change can bring. And I'll put it this way. There's what we call change that we can control or that we are in control of. And there's change that we don't have control over. And these two changes still meet us at the same place. They meet us at the psychological and emotional level. The change that you can control means that you begin to initiate your emotional stance. You gather yourself psychologically, and you are able to manage it. But then the change that you don't control is the one whereby you are stuck in a myriad of questioning things of what is my approach, what is my reaction, what is my response. You know, we tend to call this the fight, flee, or flight. Thank you, sir. So I really want to thank Father Ali for that. I know we don't give him much recognition, so thank you, Father Ali. So the first thing that I want to talk about is that dreams are a signal of change. And I want to look at it in this way, because one of the issues that we have in life is that we always know that change must come, but we never know when change will come. And the problem with change is that change signals things of a new, or rather they signal things that are new, they signal things that are sort of in a wishful state, on a desired state. They speak to a future state. And that's why when we see change, we always try to associate it with what we have done to initiate it. Okay. All right. Are we here? Sorry. It's like, oh, okay. Apologies. So, dreams are a signal of change because, number one, the first thing that brought you into the trajectory of where you are today is because you had a dream. That dream influenced some of the decisions that you had to make. Those decisions altered the behavior that you had to adopt. And that behavior brought you to where you are today. Okay? So, if you don't like where you are today, then that means it's time for change. All right? So now, the reason I say that is because in order for you to change, you must have another dream. You wouldn't be able to take control of change unless there's a dream. Otherwise, the only change that you always receive is something that someone wants to alter over your life. We've gone through the COVID pandemic. That altered our lives drastically, right? We were caught, okay, I can't say we were caught napping, but you know, it was an unanticipated change that affected us. However, what I want us to go through today is that how, if you have a dream, you can have sort of a safeguard towards things that you cannot control. You can have a ready response to certain stimulus that will want to affect where you want to go in life, that introduces itself as change that you can't control. Okay. All right. So what I want us to do is that I'm going to touch on 4 things and then I'm going to be out of your space. Number 1 is, where is your headspace? Number 2, what is the cycles of change? Number 3, the process of change. And then number 4, change to change. And I'm going to touch on this because I feel that it's sort of holistic in nature. It speaks to both the businessman, it speaks to both, you know, the emotional person, it speaks to both the students, people who are still trying to see what they can achieve in life. So I feel that change affects us all. It affects us all in whichever part of life we might be. You know, some of us are more ahead than others, but we're still affected by the same change. Next slide, sir. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Now, let me start with this. If you notice there, I'm going to do 3 quotes. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. That was Eleanor Roosevelt. Number 2, if you can dream it, you can achieve it. That was Walt Disney. And then too many of us are not living our dreams. We are living our fears. That's Les Brown. However, I say this because every time you talk about a dream, people get excited about what the dream speaks. They get excited about the future. They get excited and they draw passion from it. However, one thing that I've noticed, and this is the law of Taoism, is that if you're not going to evolve, you will disappear. If your dream does not spark a change in you, you will fail to remain relevant in the time that your dream is supposed to manifest. Amen. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. We've got men in the house. Hallelujah. So, and we've seen it a lot. And most of the time we see it with organizations that have gone down the drain because they failed to evolve. Right? But however, this law does not only apply to corporate businesses or enterprises or entrepreneurs. It applies to us as well, the family man. It applies to us, the husband. It applies to us as the father. It applies to us in terms of what our dreams, what are our aspirations, where are we trying to go in life. And the issue here is that if you fail to evolve, you will disappear. You will be lost as a statistic, and you will fall in the trap of mediocrity. Right. Next slide, sir. So, the impact of change. We know the business cycle. And I want to show this. I'm going to spend a few minutes on this thing. We know the business cycle. The business cycle, we know there's a peak. It's when, you started off and things are going well. The sales are there. The sales team is doing their thing. The marketing team is also there. And things are just going fine. And then it hits a point where now there's so many of you in that market. There's new entrants. There's new competitors. And now you're struggling because they're coming with the same product at a cheaper rate. Let me give you an example. When COVID hit, I know a friend who bought an Audi from selling face masks. He was ahead of the curve because the moment he saw it, he saw an opportunity and he struck in. And when everyone started jumping onto it, he let it go because he already made his money. However, if he had stayed in that, he would have went down because now he needed to reevaluate his model. The pricing is no longer adequate because now there's other people coming with the same product that is cheaper. Now, the market share is no longer as big as it was. We're now fighting to remain relevant or to exist or to have a presence in that space. Right? So if he had been in that space, he would have had to go through something that we call probably a recession because other people would have done it better than he would. And then he would have met into a trough or depression and then a trough, and then he would have come out as a recovery, and as Doc likes to put it, that's where you start to reinvent. All right? That's the S curve. Now, that's the business cycle. However, the next one, Clayton. However, what you would notice is that if you had to take that same model and apply to your own daily life, you would realize that every day you have to go through certain emotions and you are raging with certain changes that seek to affect what your tomorrow will be. Every day there's a decision to wake up and go to work. Every day there's a decision to grab up and hustle. Every day there's a decision that you have to make. There's things that you have to do in order to stay where you are. Right? Men, are we here? Okay. Whew, it's hard here. Whew. Father Ali. I feel it. So, now, these are the things that are happening. And one thing about change is that change is an everyday constant. But change is not a straight line. It's not horizontal. And I want to show you this thing because if you look at your life today from where it was 10 years ago, you will notice that there was a gradual progress in life. You might not be where you wanted to be, but somehow there's been a gradual uptake of your life. You might not be exactly where you want to be today, but when you look back, you realize that there was a gradual incline. And that's what we need to see. That's what dreams spark. Dreams spark a reinforcement over everyday choices. So they make sure that those choices that you have to make every day create that incline. Every choice that you make on a daily basis influences your tomorrow. And we know, traders will tell you that this is actually, if you zoom in from a year to a month, that's what you see. This is probably weekly, going into daily. It's fluctuating. And then they will come and draw you these lines, and they call them candlesticks and things like that. So I'm looking forward to going to the training as well. But, I thought, let me take this because there's truth in the matter. The truth in the matter is that you are evolving. And change sparks evolution. So every day, even though you are raging with emotions and don't know whether you're coming or you're going, but you are progressing. Why? Because you are working towards something. And that thing is what helps you to keep yourself in check over what you do on a daily basis. Those are the things that doesn't allow you to quit when you're supposed to quit. Those are the things that get you to come up out of that state of depression and the trough of that business cycle into a recovery. Because you choose to reinvent yourself. Because why? The dream is still a dream. It's the future state in which you are going. Right. So the third picture just shows you how, actually, if you take the two, put it together. Okay, thanks, Clayton. Now, what are the types of change? I'm going to show you the types of change, and then we're going to touch into it. I love this. I'm going to spend a little bit of time, because one of the things that I've learned early in my 20s, especially from reading and studying, was that change is something that is predictable. Traders study patterns. The Bible says that we have seasons and we have cycles. It says there's a time and a purpose to everything under the heaven, right? So therefore, what I learned was that if you can actually understand, change is predictable. I'll give an example. Maybe I'm not allowed to say this, but there's one of the big banks that actually goes through a restructure every 3 years. Think about it. Go and study it. And this is one of the things that I noticed. Because why? Change is predictable. Right. So now, there's 4 types of change. Number 1, there's a change that you initiate. Some of us make those with yearly resolutions. Some of us make those when you want to go to the gym. There's change that you want to initiate. If you want the 6-pack, if you want to be strong, those type of things. There's change that happens within us. There's change that happens in our psychological or emotional state. There's things that will draw you. So if you have a dream, your dream will tell you whether you are off track or still on track. That's the change within. It's that change that draws you to say that, you know what, the trajectory that you're making is not the right one because of the dream. So there's a change that happens within us. There's a change that happens to us. All right? And that change could be things like a loss, as we go back to what Xavier was saying. Like if you die, then that means that 3 things die. Or 3, I can't say people, right? 3 things die. Okay. That's the husband, that's the father, and the income. You know, so there's change that happens to us. You might have a loss. And then the 4th one is change that happens around us. Now, this is sort of the way the cycle of change is supposed to be in a normal state. It starts from things that you initiate to happen to things that are within you, then comes to things that happen to you, and then things that happen around you, right? Which means that if I change from within, I affect the world externally. Okay, I change from within. I want to go to the gym. I sign up. I go to the gym. I start working out. When I start working out, people see a bit of muscle mass and they say, hey, you are working out. And I'm like, yeah, that's because there's now change happening to me. And then all of a sudden, other people start to get scared of me because there's change that is happening around me. Now I'm a buff person and everyone is scared to be around me, you know. So there's that. It's a cycle. It's a cycle, right? But now, if you understand that this cycle got flipped upside down with COVID. All right? So it was no longer normal. It was no longer the change that we initiate. It, this time around, started with change that happened around us. All right? Next slide, Clayton. So now, the wheel got flipped. It was now change that happened around us, and that affected the change that we needed to make within us. Putting on a mask, staying indoors, isolating, drinking ginger, hot water, honey, and all of those things, mohlonyane, steaming, all of those things, you know. So there were changes that we had to initiate, and those changes started to affect everything around us. So meaning in our homes, our lives had to change to accommodate that change. And after it accommodated that change, then we had to have that change that happened to us. Meaning, no, not happened to us, happened around us, happened to us, yes. happened to us, meaning that we started being more conscious about our health. We started being more conscious about where do we go. We started being conscious about how do we run our business. So those are changes that happened to us. Now, if you understand this, there are two types of change in essence, if I can classify them. There's the intrinsic and extrinsic change. The intrinsic is the one that you can control, which is the one that you initiate, which is the one that happens within you. The extrinsic is the one that happens to you and happens around you. Two types of change, right? Now, however, this wheel is all interlinked. And the reason I raise this is because the issue that we have in life is that we don't know what to control when change happens. We don't know where we step in when change occurs. And that's why sometimes we are caught off guard because we don't know how to respond to change. Right? We don't know how to respond to change. And because we don't know how to respond to change, we don't know how to initiate change within us so that we respond to the change outside. It's like two forces coming together. There's a force that tries to derail you, and there's a counter force that you bring to stay on course. And those two forces need to meet somewhere. It's like two giants, right? Next slide, Clayton. So, I actually touched on that. We can move through. It's fine, Clayton, let's go. I've actually touched on those. Yeah, next one. I tried to put a slide together. You can see I did some work here. Yeah, thank you, man. You see, that's what I appreciate about being around such men. Now, those are the types of change. Now, the problem is that where do you fit in to take control of change? You know, there's things that we can't control, then that's fine. Now, there are different models when it comes to psychology. And you will forgive me, maybe I was supposed to say this in the beginning, but the reason I chose this is because I realized that one of the things that we struggle with is how to come out of a change that affected us. You know, sometimes when we are faced with a retrenchment, the challenge is how do you come out of that? Because you had placed your hopes and desires in the fact that you will receive a retirement at the end of the day, you will receive a salary, there's certain things that you can achieve, and just one simple change affects and alters everything around you. You know, so that's the reason why I chose to do this, because I realized that as men, if we can be ahead of change, it doesn't matter what change is out there. We will be able to reinvent every time we see the signals of change. Okay. That was a good point to say amen, but I appreciate the fact that man had coffee this morning. So, there are different models when it comes to change, about change of how do you change, how do you go through the process of change and things like that. There's many of them. You know, there's the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross change, which is the 5 stages of grief. They call it the 5 stages of grief, but it's actually, it's about change. It's about when you go through drastic change, you know, because every change has a sacrifice to it, you know. Sometimes you got to let go of that lady. You know, it's just one of those things. If you want to change or you see you got to make those tough decisions. You know, I'm not signaling men out here or anything of that sort. It's just an example. It's just an example. So there are different models to change. The other interesting one that I love is the trans-theoretical change. Now that change it's about how do you deal with change. That model was developed because they studied people who used to smoke and who tried to get off smoking, and that's how they came with this model of, you know, this relapse. They brought in this new fundamental term that you can relapse, but relapse is part of change. You know, that's when you're looking at that fluctuation thing. Sometimes you relapse during the day. Sometimes you relapse on another day. But however, that's still the process of change. Because you can go down but come up. Because why? A righteous man may fall 7 times, but he rises again. Amen. Now, the one that I love, I studied this in my 2nd year of philosophy. It's called the Thomas Kuhn, the scientific model, or in other words, it's called the paradigm shift model of a paradigm shift. And the reason I chose this one is because this is the one that I use all the time in my life. I apply this model every single time when I see the signals of change in my life. And this is so simple. So there's 5 stages to this model, and I'm going to take a little bit of time. If you think about when you grow up or where you are today is influenced by the experiences, the things that you've went through, the competencies that you have acquired, the skills, the talents that you have, and the choices that you have made. That brought you to where you are. Now, in Thomas Kuhn's model, he calls this the pre-signs. All right? So to give you in a better example, think about a child who's growing up. When they reach adolescence, you know they're going through adolescence, they're still trying to figure themselves out. But when they reach the ages of about 20, they know somewhat what they want in life. Right? So Kuhn calls this thing that this is the pre-signs stage, the signs of trying to figure out what exactly you want to achieve in life. It's the signs of saying that this is who I am, this is what I'm born to do, and this is what I've been purposed or destined to do. That's the pre-signs, right? And then he says that you come into a stage which we call the normal signs. The normal signs is when you do everyday things. You go to work, you do what you need to do, you study. That's normal signs to him. It says that you understand yourself so well that every decision, everything that you do, it just starts to become a routine. It's a routine because you understand yourself. I studied accounting, so I'm an accountant. All I do is I balance books, general ledger, income statement, all of these things. I do those for companies, I do those for individuals. That's it. It's a normal routine. And then he says, next slide, after that, in the normal signs, you move to the stage where we call it the model drift. This is where it gets interesting because now there are certain things that begin to challenge you in life. So the things that you used to do don't longer make sense anymore. There's new factors that are being introduced. I'll give you an example. Well, let's look at the accountant. There must be an act. What is the act? I don't know. Some standards, IFRS 9 or something of that sort. When there's a change in legislation or there's a change in some of the tax laws or things like that, that needs to be incorporated into what they used to do before. And that's what we call a model drift. New things are being introduced. All right? You were cool, happy before you got married. Hallelujah, you're still married. No, I was just checking if you guys are still here. There was a certain way you used to live your life before you got married. There are certain things that you could do. You were in control. You could leave the house whenever you wanted, come back whenever you wanted. You could go out and be with your friends for a certain period of time, do things. But now that you had married, the model drifted a bit. You had to make certain adjustment to that model. No, I'm still the same guy. I'm still the same guy. I just can't spend 5 hours with you anymore. I can't play PS the whole day anymore. But I'm still the same guy, you know. So the model drift, it's about subtle changes that gets introduced into your life that you can accommodate. You accommodate them so nicely because of the fact that it doesn't change who you are. You are just accommodating. You know, you call yourself an accommodative guy. And then once in that space, you get to this point where there's something that drops that now fundamentally questions everything that you do. In that model drift, you drift so far that it comes to a point where you have to say, now I need to make a change. I can't keep my friends and keep my marriage. I can't balance this and balance that. I can't keep doing this and doing that at the same time. Something must give. And in the science world, we say that that's a new factor that is trying to challenge what is the norm. So meaning that the way you've been doing things is starting to become outdated. And because it's starting to become outdated, now you need to grow out of that old skin into a new skin. But who knows that that process of growing or outgrowing is a challenge. It's tough because it has to be a change that you initiate. It has to be a change that you have to struggle with. Do I want to make this decision or not? Do I want to move this way or not? Should I make this thing and will it bring me to a better state or not? So you're always in this sort of what we call this unknown zone. It's uncomfortable because you can't continue to do it, but you want to do it. I want to keep the friends. I want to keep the marriage. You know, they've been with me before you, baby. They've been tried and tested. You see, now there's experience talking that, you know, Pastor Regan saying, I tried it, but it didn't work. You know? And that's the thing, that you get to this point in this model, they call it a crisis. And if I have to use the analogy of a marriage, it's always that point where you find yourself at a counselor's room or psychiatrist, and you're going through some deep therapy. It's a crisis. That crisis is signaling change. And yet, in the model drift, that's your first signal. When things start to become a bit more of a challenge to you to do, it's a signal. When the same thing that you do every single day don't bring the same passion and reward anymore, it's a signal for change. See, the problem that we have is that we sometimes ignore the signals and we wait for the crisis. And when the crisis hits, then we want to jump and cry and seek help, and everyone must stop everything and attend to you. But who knows that as men, we need to be ahead of the change for our own families. We need to be the leaders. We need to be the leaders who can actually take people through change. I can take my wife through the change, my children through the change, my family through the change, our finances through that change. You know? So that's where now we come back to this crisis. And I love how Kuhn talks about this. He says, when you are in that crisis, you are open for everything and anything. Yeah. Who knows when you are in a crisis, you seek advice from everyone. You try unprecedented things. If giving doesn't work, you know, there's a sangoma there conning. You never know what they will say. Maybe they might just reinforce. Or you accept everything. When someone says, no, try this, you try that. When someone says, try this, you try that. Why? Because when you are in a crisis, you are no longer in control of change. Change is in control of you. And that is what happened in COVID. Change controlled us. That's why in the media, the only things that you would hear were negative. Because they were not ahead of the change. Change was controlling them. Right. But that's not how we're supposed to be. So when Thomas Kuhn talks about this crisis, he speaks of it in a sense that this crisis is just an opportunity to reinvent. That's how he puts it. He says that's how you find evolution in the scientific method, in the way that you think. There must be something that challenges the truth that you know. There must be something that challenges the way that you've been doing things. There must be something that comes and says that you are starting to become outdated in the way that things are. So it's either you change or you become obsolete or you disappear. And we are legacy men. So therefore, being the part of change model is so that we reinvent daily. We have to reinvent in our homes. We have to reinvent in our careers. We have to reinvent in our workplace. We have to reinvent so that we are not the people who just go through things as if we are not in charge of what we are going or where we are going, right? So I love this model, guys. I learned this thing and I took it in a psychological way. Now, after the crisis, you have what we call a model revolution. A model revolution says that now that I've tried certain things, so one of the things that you do in a crisis, you react. You react. You react. You try to take control and you realize the reason why you react, by the way, is because you're trying to keep everything the same. You try to hold on to the very same things that some must go. So that's why you react. You react to keep everything. When you lose a job, you react to keep the car. To keep that stance, to keep that status. You react. People mustn't know that I'm going through this, you know. So that's that reaction. So in the model revolution, what Kuhn says is that in that state of crisis, someone is going to come with a level head and say, guys, I see things differently. How about we do things this way? They're going to come up with a new hypothesis, as they put it, a new theory. How about we try it this way? And he says that will be tested, and after it's tested, it will be found that it brings us to what we call a paradigm shift. It resolves the crisis, but at the same time, there are certain things that I need to leave behind to embrace the change. And he calls that the model revolution, because that's where you evolve as a man. That's where you reinvent as a man. And if you can understand this model, then the next slide you will know that you are able to be in control of change. Because when Kuhn put this thing, he was saying that change is inevitable, but change must be something that we can alter to change. Change must be something that we can alter to change. Change must be something that we can alter to change. Meaning that I don't have to accept what's coming, because I can change it and alter it so that it changes into my benefit. And that's what companies had to do through this crisis. Amen. Now, I know I'm taking too long, but I'm going to close with this next slide, and then that's it. So, then I was like, change. And I was like, you know what? We need a personal makeover. Because one thing that I love about us men is that, we like to look slick, cool, and things like that. And, that's why I try to look cool for you guys. I'm trying to reinvent. I try to reinvent, I just, I get inspired from Pastor Xavier. It's the coolest preacher that I know. Comes up and is like, does his thing. It's like, So I try to reinvent. Now, to reinvent, you need to go through a process of a makeover. And ladies love the salon, but we love the barbershop. And the thing about a barbershop is that you are in control of the change that you want to see. I look ashy, but I must come out there clean, nice cut, feeling good about myself, be masculine. I'm going to meet other men there where we're going to go through a transformative cycle, where we transform ourselves. So the way I enter into that space and the way I come out is too different. If you come out the same way, then something's wrong. Shoot your barber. And you know how exciting it is when you go home and, you get comments. Hey, man, you look good. In a day's work, I try. You know how we guys love to keep it humble. We want to act all humble, but that was not the plan. That was never the plan. But you just don't want to tell them. So they're like, hey, you look cool. I tried, man. This thing. My grandmother, but yeah, I tried. But that's what you want out of a personal makeover. Now, if you think about it, the person who makes a decision to go to the barber is you. Or your wife. But for the sake of this analogy, let's stick with you. The person who makes that decision to go to the barber is you. The person who notices that things are starting to move or drift is you. When that beard is now ungovernable, you start to say it's time. Or when you feel like I've spotted this hairstyle for far too long, you the one who signals the time. Meaning that number one, a personal makeover requires you to initiate. It doesn't matter what changes occur around you, because even though every day you're doing the same thing, your hair grows. You don't have to control it. But however, you're the one who determines how it will affect you. Brabongs must go to the salon probably every month or so, do a touch-up, you see. I can go 3 months. But it's me or you who decides when is the time. Right? Next slide, Clayton. So, I put up a little process for us. Because when you're going through this personal makeover, number one, you need to embrace tomorrow. There's a way that you see yourself. When you're making that drive to the barber, and you know that it's not only there for the conversations. There's something that you see about yourself that the barber must bring out of you. Okay. Yeah, you go in there, hey, you're like, my guy, do your thing. You don't go in there and say, I want this. When you're comfortable with your barber and you know that he knows you, you just go in and say, do me. You know the way, the usual. You got me, buddy. So that's that space where you are in control. But you are not just in control of the time, you are in control of the process. You determine the process because you know, I get there, I'm going to sit in the seat, he's going to cover me, he's going to do his thing. And if he goes outside of what you expect, you're going to be, hey, buddy, don't, what are you doing? And it's like, no, I'm trying a new thing. What's this new thing? You know, you are in control of the process. Now, if you don't embrace tomorrow, it means that number one, you're always going to be caught off guard. So I have this thing of being above the line and being below the line. When you're below the line, it means that change caught up with you and you were not ready. So what do? You get into a state of panic. You freeze, you fight, you flight. That's what you do. But when you are ahead of it, that you've got self-confidence because you know, I might not look the way that I want to look, but I'm working on my image. I'm working on my brand. I'm working on who I will become when I come out of that barber shop. So you are embracing something that people don't know. So you are in control of a process that people will only get to appreciate after. And that is a true leader who manages change. Right? So number one, you got to embrace your tomorrow. You got to embrace tomorrow. Even though you're going through the fluctuations of up and down and things are coming in, then there's bread that's needed, there's finances that's needed, there's school fees that's needed. You got to be in control of that change. You got to say to yourself that even though this is demanded of me today and I don't have it, but I know that 5 years from now, this is where we're going to be as a family. And that mindset means that I can take that fluctuation, but I'm still on course. Right? So that's step one of your makeover. Step two, you got to get ahead of the curve. The price of, the price of the process is change. The price of the process is change. So meaning that number two, I got to be active about what I want to see change in my life. And sometimes that might mean I need to go register for a new module. I need to go increase in my competencies and skills. I got to try something new. I got to shift. I mean, I'll give you a personal example. I left something that where I was so, established that I started back down again because I wanted something new. But I had to be ahead of that curve. I did not wait for a crisis to shift me. I saw the signals. And because the price of the process is change, I had to make a conscious decision to say, I will leave this even though it seems like it has a future for me. For the sake of the unknown, because I know that my dream is locked into it. And everyone will appreciate me after the process or celebrate me after the process, right? So the reason why some of us don't go and get ahead of the curve is because we are stuck in fear. We number one, fear success. There's a fear of failure. There's a fear of rejection. There's the fear of taking risk, and there's a fear of failure. I don't have time to get into those, but those are the 5 fears. There's the fear of success. That's the false humility that we have because we're saying that, I'm okay. No, I'm good. But you know you've got the core skills and the competencies to run an effective organization. But you just say, no, I'm cool. Why? Because you don't want to address the fear of success because you're scared of what success will do to you. There's the fear of failure. We all know the fear of failure. The fear because we don't want to start something new because what if I fail? And then all the mukhus in the street are going to start telling me, what did you think you were going to do? What did you expect? There's that fear of failure. Come on, guys. We men, you know this thing that every day when you have to try something new, there are other people who are looking at you saying, where do you think you're going? And because of that, you rather stay there and be like, no. Let's act the fool together. Third one is the fear of rejection. Because sometimes you got to leave certain things. And when you leave certain things, they will reject you. You willingly choose to leave. You leave those friends because, guys, where I'm headed, you cannot come with me. And because you leave them, they reject you. Oh, look at the I fail Popda. It's part of reinventing. I'm also working on my Afrikaans. There's the fear of taking risks as well. And this one hits mostly the husbands at home. Because there's certain decisions that you want to take, but you're scared of how your wife will see it. And I've got a key for you. When you are in that boat, you need to do a quick SWOT analysis and see the opportunities that outweigh the risks and present that to the wife. And then there's the fear of the unknown. This, we all sit in it, the fear of the unknown. Because the fact of the matter is that you don't know what it's going to mean at the end of the day. And so you become scared. Now, let me move. The third one to staying to your personal makeover is that you got to stay on the course. You got to stay in that barber seat and allow your barber to do his work. What does that mean? You need to commit to personal growth. You need to commit to personal grooming, in other words. You need to commit to the fact that in order for me to get to where I am, there's certain things that I need to change about myself to get there. There's certain things that I need to grow in. There's certain skills or competencies that I need to go and acquire. I need to sign up. I need to go register. You know, I always say that our belief is at the mercy of our thoughts. Our belief is at the mercy of our thoughts. Meaning that if I'm not committed to personal growth, then my thoughts will always cause me to believe different. It will change what I will see at the end. All right? So now, if you're below the line, then you must know that you're just procrastinating. You are that guy who sits in the line trying out a new barber and you're allowing other people to go before you. Because you want to see, does this guy know what he's doing? All right? So in that procrastination stage, you are the person who becomes a cheerleader to others. You are that guy who knows how to celebrate other people's success, but you cannot attain success for your own self. And the truth of the matter is that the reason why, if your belief had changed, you would know that sticking around successful people means that you will be successful as well. But if you have this form of not staying on course and procrastinating, then you are always going to be the cheerleader or the traffic officer who manages the traffic. So you got to kick yourself in the butt, because when we're talking about legacy, you got to think about the things that you're doing today and how they will affect 10 years from now. You got to think about the things that if I don't do this, who's going to do it in this house? If I don't cut the grass, who's going to cut the grass? There are certain things that even though you know that they are below you or there's something that you are not strong in, but the fact of the matter is part of the process. You got to do it, even though you don't like it. I might not be good at marketing, but if I need to call someone and sell something, I got to sell. I got to do it. I can't keep saying I will leave it for tomorrow. What if that guy is busy? Then you've just lost an opportunity for a day. All right? And then the last one is change your habits. Change your habits just means basically that you got to unlearn certain things to learn new things. You got to change your habits. You got to change your habits. You become what you think you are, and you attract what you become. I'll say that once again. You become what you think you are, and you attract what you become. Meaning that if I am not conscious about the things that I need to change in my life, I will never attract the things that I expect when I become. So, meaning that if I don't start doing something now, I will not attract the benefits of it. And that's the beauty of this thing, that when you are sitting at the barber shop, you just got to know that I'm changing a habit. Now I mustn't wait a month. I must just go every 2 weeks. I must go every month or every week or things like that. There is things that you have to sacrifice to stay on that course because you are changing a habit. All right. And the reason some people fall off at this stage is because of impatience. No one starts a successful organization overnight. And I will give you the story. One of the reasons why Steve Jobs was able to flourish in the business of Apple, it was because of a module that he studied after he failed, or rather he quit varsity. When he quit varsity, he didn't leave varsity. He still stayed on campus for 18 months. And one of the things that he did in that time is that he got attracted to a typography module. He was sort of intrigued about how do people study fonts and text and writing and spaces and things like that. And that attracted him. And only to realize that by him doing such a thing, he would actually revolutionize how the fonts, keypads, and the digital aesthetics that we have on our computers are today. Just by studying a course that he felt attracted to. And he did not know the reasons why he was studying that course, by the way. But 10 years later, he could look back and say, had I not done that, we would not have taken on IBM and brought it down. Not down, but yes. All right. Now, this is the personal makeover, and I want to close it by this. The reason I put this together is because my life has been largely influenced by Miles Monroe. I've read Miles Monroe's books. I think Miles Monroe is one of the greatest philosophers of our day and age. And he reasoned from the principles of the Bible. And all of this was formulated based on 4 things that he said. Number 1, and this is in closing, he used to say, and he puts it so perfectly. He says, number 1, when you want to have a personal makeover, number 1, you got to prepare prayerfully. Number 2, you got to plan purposefully. Number 3, you got to proceed positively. And number 4, you got to pursue persistently. And with that, gentlemen, I think I've exceeded my time. So thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. I hope you really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much. Wow, thank you for that personal makeover, Mantikwe. Wow. Guys, let's give another round of applause to Mantikwe. Another round of applause to our speakers for the morning. That certainly is a lot to think about. That certainly is, we've had a lot to challenge us this morning. That personal makeover requires you to make that decision. Mantikwe, won't you just tell us once again, just give us that closing statement, prepare prayerfully. Because remember, change starts with us. And the future is in our hands to change it. We want to get ahead of the curve. So give us that again there, Mantikwe. Plan purposefully. Proceed positively. Pursue persistently. Guys, wow, thank you. Thank you so much once again for that. Well, we've come to the end of our first masterclass. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for taking your time out this morning and investing in yourself and investing in your growth. I want to encourage you that as you walk out the doors, don't go home straight away. Please speak to Xavier and Terrell. Don't miss out on this opportunity that they've also given you to actually have a world drafted, to actually have someone, a qualified team, to actually sit and help you with your financial planning. Don't forget, if you want to attend the NAS 100 trading, it's free once again. You need to speak to Pastor Xavier. You need to give him your details and let him know that you want to come so that he can make sure that you get all the information before Tuesday. And then, most importantly, I am super excited about Under African Skies, 27th to the 30th of March. And I want to encourage you, guys, we're the ones that must lead from the front. We're the ones that must man up and say, Lord, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So we're the ones that make the decision that our families will follow us and be at that conference. But also, we need you. We need your hands. We need your feet. We need your willing hearts to make this super successful. So if you do want to get involved, the legacy team will also be in the foyer. Give us your names. Let us know you want to be involved. And like I said at the start, don't think that if we need you in the car park, it's below you. There is no such thing. If serving God is beneath you, leadership and elevation in His kingdom is beyond you. Don't ever be in that position where elevation from God is beyond you. I want to thank you once again for being here. Go and have a fantastic Saturday. Doc and Pastor Joan, thank you for allowing us this platform, and we really look forward to seeing you again tomorrow morning in church. Guys, tomorrow morning, right here, 8:30. God bless you. Enjoy your Saturday.
Hi everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today. It was so good having you online today. I trust that you enjoy God's word today and that you had a wonderful worship experience. We have 3 services, one at 8:30, one at 10, and a third one on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. If you need more information, feel free to check us out on our website. It will be our joy to connect with you. I love you and God loves you best. Take care.